Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about interfacings for facings and collars. As you may know from the previous videos, we are making this shirt in a series of small little videos for you. So if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe because we're going to finish this whole project right here with me. Let's get started. So this is my fashion studio. My name is Faren. You're probably thinking, Faren, what the heck is interfacing? And why do we need to even use it anyway? Because some people skip this step. And it's very important. Interfacing gives structure and body to the piece that you're making. There is a difference between interfacing and fusing. Interfacing, you stitch on to your piece. Fusing is actually interfacing with glue on the other side. So you can literally iron it on and it is stuck to your fabric. That is a lot easier for most people, and they use this in the industry all the time. There's really two steps. You have your piece of fabric, and then you cut out the piece of fusing, and then you take that piece and you fuse it on top, or you baste it around the edges. To fuse the fabric and then cut out your pattern piece. You figure it out, however which way you want to do it. Was that clear? There are so many different types of interfacing. We have non-woven, lightweight fusing. We have tricot, this is for knits. We have a woven fusible. Be careful with these ones because sometimes they shrink and they pucker your fabric depending on the ratio that your fabric and your fusing shrink. You may want to pre-shrink your fusing as well. That's a tip right there. We have a fleece fusible. This is usually used on suits and coats. It gives it a nice insulation, and it's also kind of nice and soft and fuzzy. Okay. Next we have horsehair. This is actually an interfacing that needs to be sewn into your garment. Let's get to prepping our facings and our collar for our shirt. So this piece is actually our collar, and I have gone and fused this piece already. The trick with fusing is you have to start in the middle and move outward from the middle. Okay, that's how you're ironing. You can do a motion that is sweeping from the center out, or you can go down and up and steam. White is used for light colors and black is used for darker colors. So after you have prepped your pieces with the fusing, I really don't know what to do other than get to the machine. I'm going to die. We ain't going to talk about no drama now. We've been talking about this shirt that we've been making for days and days now. This is a commercial pattern, which means the seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch. Check your stitch length to make sure that it's at 2.5. There's two options to this. You could stitch until 5/8 and then pivot and turn and keep stitching, or stitch all this length of the collar and then just take it out of your machine and then start all over again on the other side at 5/8. You could pin your pieces. I personally don't like sewing with pins, but I do like pinning the end of my piece, just so I know that they're together. Stitch that all the way to the end. We're just gonna pivot on this corner. Feeling kind of crazy. Pivot and stitch to the end and back tack. These are the two methods. See, you can stitch off and then start again, Or you can do that one, which is just the pivot. Trim your seam allowance down to 1/4 inch. There we go, we trimmed. To get those nice pointy corners, you have to trim the corner down really close at the corner and then out to your edge of your seam allowance. In order for your collar to roll nicely around the edges, you have to do an understitch, also known as an edge stitch. What you have to do is move your seam allowance towards the piece with the fusing. Finger pressing and kind of moving your seam allowance to that side, and then tucking your presser foot kind of as far as it can go into the corner. Line up the inside of your presser foot with the seam of the collar. Put your needle into the fabric and then back tack. And then you just edge stitch all the way to the other side, pressing your seam allowance. Keep pressing it towards the fused collar side. Once you get close to the end, you really have to tuck your presser foot and your needle as far as it can possibly go into the edge of the corner. Okay, and then when you get there, back tack and take out your collar. In order to get a nice crisp corner, fold one seam allowance one way and fold another seam allowance the other way, and just flip it on the other side, onto the right side. And then what you do is you take a pin and you can also just pick out the corner so it's nice and pointy. And then from there, you go press it. Look at that! Let's go to your facings and let's put them together. This would be your center back facing. I made it a contrast color because I thought it was pretty. Right sides together. Okay, right now I'm really just sewing the shoulder seams of the facing at 1/2 inch. I am sewing the shoulders of the facing. This is the facing that goes on the inside of the shirt. Okay, this is going to be the inside of the shirt. This is where the buttons are gonna go. Iron this thing with the seam allowance open, flat. I also like to clip the seam allowance if I can, if it hasn't been fused. I like to cut it down because I don't like a lot of bulk on the shoulders. Beautiful! Why is it so dirty? This is your facing that you just finished. Put it aside. And we're gonna take out the front and the back panels of your shirt. Okay, lay out your front panels. And put your back right sides together on your front. We're gonna be sewing from the highest shoulder point out. As you know, you should be sewing with the grain line, okay? Back tacking and going like crazy over here. Okay, we finished the second shoulder. Holy sheesh. Iron your shoulder seams open, and if you've done a flat fell or a French seam, then make sure your seam allowance is rolling to the back of the shirt, not the front, the back. This is where we get our collar piece. Our facing is gonna come later. We are going to be basting this thing on. So change your stitch length to about a 4. So putting your collar onto the center back, I am pinning the collar to the front and back of the shirt right now. From here, we're going to baste the collar onto the body of the shirt. Just stick it under your machine, back tack, do that thing you do, and do an old basting stitch around your neck. We have a collar on a shirt right now. Check that out. Woo. Yeah, pinning this facing on. Let's stitch. So not basting, which means change your stitch length back to 2.5. Back tacked, and now we're going. Once you get to the corner, stop a 1/2 inch or 5/8 and pivot. Now we're going through all layers here. So the facing, the body, and the collar. Done! Woohoo! Check that out. Same thing that you did with the collar, you do to this corner from your facing, and you would just cut diagonally across. Down from the corner. I like to edge stitch. So like the edge stitch that we did on the collar, we're going to do on the center front. So rolling the seam allowance towards the facing part and stitch all the way down. Edge stitch the facing from the center back shoulder piece to the other shoulder. It gives it a more like reinforced collar, so it sort of keeps the facing rolling towards the body. Cool, so once you finish that, just press it, and we're pretty close to being done this shirt. Next week, we're gonna be putting on the sleeves. Hit the subscribe button and also ring that bell so you get notifications of our next video. That's it for me today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I would love to see you next week. Ciao for now.